Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my last TBR for the year. I cannot believe it is December. I know I said that in a previous video. I am going to come clean and just say right now, before I started filming this video, I had a shot of my new whiskey and now I've realised how bad of an idea that was and I should have done that after I wanted to film this video. But as they say, tis the season. So you know what? It is what it is. We'll make it through. It's fine. I'm just a little bit brain foggy, but it's good. So for anyone new here, I'm only going to be mentioning 5 books in this video. I mainly only mention a couple of books just because I want to keep my reading goal for the month realistic. I'm a slower reader and 4 to 5 books is generally what I tend to read throughout the month, and anything more than that is just a really good reading month for me. So without further ado, here are the books that I want to read in December. So the first book is actually part of a series, and it's a series that I've wanted to read for such a long time, and I've had this book for absolutely years and I've just never picked it up, and that is Shatter Me by Tahara Murphy. This is the first book in the Shatter Me series. I can't remember exactly how many books there are in this series, but there's quite a few. I do believe that this book is over 10 years old and I don't even want to talk about it. I think we should just forget that that fact exists. Like, that disgusts me. I cannot deal with that fact. So this is basically a YA dystopian series. It follows a young 17-year-old girl named Juliet Ferrers, and she basically has this touch that is lethal. So essentially all of the world went to shit. The ozone kind of like crumbled. Animals don't exist anymore, food is really sparse, and this governing body called the Re-establishment took over the world and were like, you know, we're going to make this better, and nothing seems to have got better. Now during this time, humans like Juliet started gaining weird powers, and she just so happens to be one of these humans that's gained a power, and hers is that she can kill people with her touch, which basically means she can't touch anybody. That is basically the gist of the story. I'm gonna guess, like any other dystopian, this is going to end in some kind of war. I'm just very excited to see what I make about this. I think the reason why I've gravitated to wanting to read this month is because I've seen a couple of quotes on Booktok, and my favourite thing about Booktok is that I am a girly who is behind on the times. There are plenty of book series that I always wanted to read and never did, and Booktok is also behind on the times because there's stuff like this that has been out for over 10 years now and they're still hyping it up, and I love that because I don't feel so alone. Anyway, that's the first book I want to read this month. If any of you have read it, then let me know what you thought. I'm very excited. So the second book that I want to read this month is a sequel, and that is Foxglove by Adeline Grace. I do believe I might have mentioned this in a previous TBR, and I can't remember which one. I might have mentioned it in 1 or 2. I will get to this book at some point. I will. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it this month. It's gonna happen. This is basically the sequel to Belladonna, which I read earlier on in the year, and just last month I listened to the audiobook of Belladonna because I wanted to refresh my memory. There were a lot of kind of like things in that book that I couldn't remember, and I'm glad that I went back and re-listened to it because honestly, the ending of that book, I completely forgot what happened. I remember something happened, but then a new character came in and that character's very significant to the plot, and honestly, if I had gone straight into the second book, I would have been so lost. So I'm really glad I went back and I re-listened to it in audiobook format because honestly, I don't know what I would have made of the second book otherwise. So obviously I'm not going to give you the plot of the second book, but I will give you the plot of the first one. So it basically follows a young 19-year-old girl named, keep wanting to say Juliet Ferrers, it's not. It's not. Her name is Signifaro, and she has basically grown up as an orphan, being kind of like given to family member, and basically death follows her wherever she goes. And the weird thing about Signa is that she cannot die, and she can actually see death himself. And one of the ways that she does this is she eats or drinks belladonna berries. I cut off my last point because one of the great things about the winter is that the inside of my lens fogs up, so if you see that happening, I've had to deattach the lens and unfog it. I love the winter. The winter's great. Anyway, as I was saying, she takes belladonna berries and she can basically see death himself. And at this point in the book, we end up seeing her being taken to a new family member, because basically all of the family members that she gets given to, they end up dying in some way, and so she gets given to a new family. And the weird thing about them is that the wife recently passed away, and then also the daughter of the family is really ill. And what Signa ends up finding out is that the daughter is ill because someone is making her ill, and that the mother died because someone killed her, and she makes it her mission to figure it out. So essentially you have this gothic fantasy romance kind of shrouded in like this mystery kind of setting, and I thoroughly loved the first book, and I think it's about time that I read the second. I love the romance elements as well. I'm just ready to devour the second book, and I can't wait to see where it goes, because it's like Bridgerton but meets fantasy. It's great. I love it. So the third book that I'm hoping to read in December is a romance, and I just feel like I'm gonna need a romance to kind of break up the fantasy and dystopian books that I've picked this month. But that is Caught Up by Liz Tomford. This is the third book in the Windy City series. This is basically a series made up of sports romances, and Liz Tomford is one of my go-tos for romance and sports romance in general. I love her writing. I love the stories that she tells. I just love her romance. It just like, you know. So this one in particular follows a baseball player named Kai, who we do meet in the second book. It's like the first time that we got introduced to his character, but as far as I know, he is a single dad, and basically every nanny he has hired in the past, he's fired for whatever reason. He doesn't really trust them easily with his kid, and in comes a new nanny named, I think her name is Miller, and basically she's everything that, you know, he shouldn't trust, but he does. And I'm ready to devour this. I just love Liz Tomford's romances. They're really good. If you're into sports romance and you haven't given her books a go yet, I would absolutely recommend them. There's just something about them. I just love them. I devour them every single time. So the fourth book that I want to read in December is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare, and I realise I'm being a little bit ambitious this month. I feel like this is a bit chunky, you know, like it doesn't look too bad compared to some of the books that I've read this year, but it still comes in at a hefty like 600 something pages, and I don't know how I feel about that the last month of the year, if you know what I mean. Like, it kind of scares me. But I am, for some reason, feeling this. Like, I feel like I'm gravitating towards this. I'm very much a mood reader, for those of you who don't know. And there's something about this that I'm feeling. I feel like the Infernal Devices and, like, the Last Hours trilogy just scream, like, autumn, winter. Like, I have so many memories of being in London when it's really cold, and so I feel myself gravitating towards this now. But for those of you who don't know, just to kind of like summarise it very, very quickly, this is the sequel to the Infernal Devices. You don't necessarily have to read this. It's not like a direct sequel, but it does involve some characters from the previous series, and also it involves some of the children from the Infernal Devices. So I feel, I don't know, like, if you haven't kind of like delved into the Shadowhunter world by Cassandra Clare, you might be a little lost, and I wouldn't blame you. This is just an ongoing thing, and like I think she has one more trilogy coming out after this one, and obviously this one finished this year. But yeah, I'm just feeling this, and I don't want to say any more than that, because I feel like if you want to read this, you should probably read some of the other series, especially the Infernal Devices first. Oh my god, the Infernal Devices is everything. So then the fifth and final book that I'm hoping to read in December is it could be a 50-50 one, I'm gonna be honest. This is I believe it's a YA fantasy, but that is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Now, if you followed my channel for the past couple of months, you will know that previously in the year I did read Caraval. I think it was very recently, maybe it was like September, October time. I read Caraval. I didn't like it. I did not love it, and I was super mad about it because I'd heard so many good things, and I really, really wanted to like it, and I liked the idea of it, and then when I read it I was just like, ugh. This, however, is a completely brand new trilogy. I do believe it takes place in the same universe, but it doesn't necessarily follow the same characters, I believe. I'm not sure. I didn't read past Caraval, so I don't know. However, I have seen people say that if you didn't like Caraval, you should definitely try and read this trilogy, and so I'm gonna give her a go again. I'm gonna try it again, we're gonna see if it works, and hopefully it does. But I'm gonna read the synopsis for this one because I actually don't know what this is about, but the synopsis is: how far would you go for happily ever after? For as long as she can remember, Evangeline Fox has believed in true love and happy endings, until she learns that the love of her life will marry another. Rude. Desperate to stop the wedding and to heal her wounded heart, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic but wicked Prince of Hearts. In exchange for his help, he asks for free kisses, to be given at the time and place of his choosing. I love the sound of this already. This better live up to every expectation that I have now. But after Evangeline's first promised kiss, she learns that bargaining with an immortal is a dangerous game, and that the Prince of Hearts wants more from her than she'd pledged. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. I just know that this is gonna have me kicking my feet in the air and giggling. I hope it does. I hope it does. After reading that whole thing about like the free kisses thing, girl, tell me everything. Okay, I'm excited to read it now. Although, having said that, when I read the synopsis for Caraval, I was like, this sounds up my alley, and it just wasn't. So those are all the books that I hope to read in December. If you've read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, please leave a comment down below telling me what you thought of them, but please keep them spoiler free. If you haven't read any of the books that I mentioned, then please let me know some of the books that you hope to read in December. If you enjoyed this video, then please don't forget to give it a like, and if you would like to see more content from me, then don't forget to subscribe. And until the next video, I will see you then. So bye guys. What was that? Bye guys. What the fuck? Bye guys.